Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. We'll wrap up Penn State and then look forward to our home opener versus Duquesne on Saturday night. Lost to a good football team. Tough environment on Saturday night. Had chances. Disappointed because it just doesn't align for you like that. You're playing number 17 on the road. On national television, and it's a great opportunity, and I'm not sure when the next time that we'll have that as a program. It's a 2-game home and home, and that's it. And so we had our chances, didn't take advantage. Have to play better team football. And our plan was we get this in the fourth quarter with one score. We felt really good about our chances to win. And into half is 14-7. We get a good stop defensively. They miss a field goal. We get the ball back offensively. 2 minutes to go, with a chance to tie the game up. We don't get it done. 3 and out on a third down play that was there, and then we come back. First drive of the second half, play our best defensive series of the game. 3 and out, get the ball. We hit an explosive run on the second play from scrimmage, and then have our only procedure penalty of the night. And we were going to have the ball, I think, 1st and 10, right around the -45, and gets called back. End up having to punt. We shank the punt, and then they make it 21-7. Stays 21-7. We're in the third quarter. We have a really good drive, productive drive. I think we got it 2nd and 7, right around the 30-yard line going in. Chance to make it a one-score game. We have a missed assignment on the outside, have a tackle for loss. 2 incompletions, had a chance to, on a touchdown, probably Garrett's best throw of the night on a touchdown in the end zone, don't make it. But had that opportunity to make it 21-14 in the fourth there too. So just kind of sour taste. We had some chances. Didn't feel like we were outmanned. Didn't feel like the environment got to us. I didn't feel like the moment was too big for us. We just didn't make enough plays that you got to make to be able to win those type of games. And so kind of give you a look at each phase. Special teams, I'll hit the good and the things we got to improve on. Good, we net punted 42.5. I thought our coverage was excellent. We run well. And I thought you saw that when we got down. We had 2 inside the 20. Thought our kickoff team, that's a group that's been pretty good on kickoff return. They brought one out, and we tackled it on the 18-yard line. And then our field goal block team was really good. The kid missed 2, but we affected. We had some push. Really should have blocked one of the extra points. We got to get better on the shank punt. That was at a critical time. And Ollie's really good. You can tell by his net punt, but he mishit that one. And then missed opportunity to change the game on a block punt. And I left that out because I knew I was going to hit on it. And so we get the 3 and out on defense. They punt. And literally the ball goes between our guys' hands. If we do what we're coached to do, get our hands together, we got a block punt there on the first punt of the second half, and really a game-changing opportunity. And so offensively, I thought the good was the operation, the game management. We had 1 procedure penalty in the whole game, and that was probably my biggest concern going in. We worked off a silent cadence. I thought it was effective. Didn't hurt us. I watched – some of those whiteout games, the Minnesota game last year when they played Michigan at night, the Ohio State game, and all those teams had a high number of procedure penalties dealing with the snap count. And it was loud in there, but I thought our guys managed it. We ran the ball effective, had 0 turnovers, really pretty clean game. We got to improve our pass game execution, and I think that what the game kind of came down to is these end of drives. So we were 3 of 6 on 4th down. We were going to be aggressive going in the game. Those were like no blink. We're going to go for it. I think you have to be aggressive in those when you're the underdog playing on the road. You have to be aggressive. And so we converted 3 of them. Then we had 3 that we didn't. And on one, we got pressure, and really not that they outnumbered us. We just didn't have very good fundamentals. We had 2 guys open. On the second one, that was on the second one. On the first one, had a good play, just missed the throw. We had 2 guys open, we just missed the throw. And on the last one, we just didn't execute. Tried the 2 quarterback deal, and that's my fault. It didn't work, and so we didn't execute. But that's on me. But what happens is on those third downs, we win the time of possession 32-28. But if you convert, let's say you convert 2 out of those, and now you get, 3 or 4 more downs, but more importantly, you're eating up the clock. And so now it goes, instead of being 32-28, maybe it's 36-24. And now you're taking at least a minimum of 1 possession away from them, and you really control the clock. And so, those failure to convert those into possession downs have consequences throughout. I thought the guys that our best players played well offensively. I thought Frazier really was dominant on the interior. Wyatt Milam sprained his ankle, missed a series, but came out and against some really well thought of defensive ends played well. He made himself some money on Saturday night. Thought Devin Carter showed up and was really productive. Probably could have caught another couple and been well over 100 yards. Cole Taylor had 2. He was targeted on one other one. Should have had 2 more catches over the middle where he was open. And I thought Nick Malone came in for Wyatt the series. We scored a touchdown with Wyatt with Nick Malone in there at left tackle. And then CJ. I thought CJ had a point to prove. I thought he ran really well. He wanted to prove he was the best running back on the field. I thought he showed himself really well. I thought Jalen Anderson did some nice things. Garrett, I think credit to him for the game management piece. That's the quarterback. We didn't have any 40-second clock issues. We didn't have any 25-second clock issues. He handled all that. I thought he ran the ball really effectively. I thought his decisions when he ran it and when to throw it were pretty spot on. And for him, he missed some throws. He's got to make layups. I think he missed he had 2 really bad throws on screens. Those are layups. You got to make those. And then we missed a couple downfield. One of them he had pressure. But what we talked to him about is you got to make 100% of your layups, and he didn't. But he competed, and I think you can see why guys like playing for him. He competed and gave us a chance. Defensively, I was really pleased with our front 7. I was encouraged by our D-line, our linebackers, both our edge, our field edge, and our boundary edge. Played the run pretty well, not great, but pretty well. And we got some key red zone stops. 2 times we made them kick field goals, or 3 times we made them kick field goals. And in our league, it comes down to that a lot, so that was encouraging. We got to improve our pass coverage. Too many easy completions. They had a couple explosives. The first one of the game, it's a game of inches, and it's about 2 inches away from hitting Aubrey's hands. You go back and watch it in slow motion, but it is what it is. It ended up being a 74-yard touchdown, and you can't have that. Even more disappointing, we pinned them down there. They started that drive on the 6-yard line, and so we had a decent opening drive, pinned them down, and then let them out. Game plan was to make the quarterback beat us, and he did. Thought we had him on the ropes there at the end of the half, and then early in the third quarter, and he got good field position and made us pay. 2 huge missed opportunities. We dropped 2 interceptions. One of them would have been in the end zone. The other one would have been right around midfield on a big change of possession. And so we've got to take advantage of those. Thought these guys played well. Sean Martin, again, going against 2 tackles, one of them a top 12 pick, and I thought he showed himself really well. And I say the same thing about him that I said about Wyatt Milam. They're going to click on that tape because who he was going against, and he fared really well. And so happy for him. Need him to continue to come on. Mike Lockhart played his best game as a Mountaineer. Ran to the ball, probably played a few too many snaps. Thought Eddie Vestorinian played well. And then Lee Koba had 13 tackles. He was all over the field. And I really felt like he was going to make a jump year 1 to year 2, and he showed on that. And I thought in limited action, Hammond Russell and Tomey did a really nice job. Tomey had the sack. Hammond had a pressure. I thought both those guys showed, and so not outcome we wanted or expected, and we have to get better, and we got to build off that and get better. Come home, play a Duquesne team. It's a home opener, and hungry to get a win. We're an 0-1 football team till we get a win, and we need a win. And we got an important 3-game home stretch right here. Starts with Duquesne on Saturday night. Duquesne, a proud program. I think they've won 5 conference championships in the last 9 years. They've had several guys over the last 3 or 4 years that have been in NFL camps. They beat Ohio University, who's one of the better group of 5 programs in the country in 2021. So it's a group that we respect. They got good players. They're local. If you look at their roster, most of their talents within a 3-hour radius. So they'll be hungry to play right here on Mountaineer Field, and we'll get their best shot. And so not gonna respect them, but it's about us kind of making some positive momentum and getting better as we get into the meat of our schedule. So with that, I'll take questions.
So, Neal, you touched on this a little bit, but after watching film, 2-3 areas of real emphasis you have to improve upon?
Yeah, you got to execute. Offensively, it's really two. We got to execute the pass game in critical pass situations. We've got to be able to execute. We've got to be more explosive. We gave up. We would have had two, gave up on some pressure, and then we just didn't make the throw on a couple. And so we got to be able to execute our pass game offensively, and then we got to hit some of those explosives. And then defensively, we've got to play better against the pass. Our coverage got to be tighter.
Do you have the ability on explosives? I mean, do you have the athletes who can do it?
Well, we missed EJ. EJ missed the game. He'll miss this week as well. We're hopefully getting back by week 3. He missed the last 2 weeks of fall camp. And so he can really run. Jayshon Pope missed the last he practiced a little bit last week. He dressed, probably could have played in an emergency. So the two guys we went out and got in the portal that can really run, didn't play. And Jayshon should play this week. EJ probably won't come back till the following week. Those guys can. We didn't have them. I think Devin Carter can break tackles. You saw that. He can get up and body people. The two young kids, they got to play more. Traylon had a couple catches, couple targets. He had the big drop. We got to get him and Rodney a little bit more involved. Jaheim White was out. He didn't practice all week. He was out there today. Hopefully he'll be full go tomorrow.
We've talked about this with everybody actually today. I know you talked about the schedule before, but what are your thoughts, and I guess what even is the difference for you of starting off the season big-time game then FCS versus would you rather have the FCS be the first game and then, say, Penn State game 2?
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to both. I think the thing where it helps you when you play the FCS first is you get some momentum. You're able to establish some momentum. And I think there's that's important. Now there's we've opened up on national TV 2 years in a row too because we played a premier opponent in a rivalry game. So I think there's some advantages of that. Like my issue with our schedule is not who we're playing first. I think it's I think my issue is our schedule. We've opened up on the road 3 years in a row, that's not smart scheduling. Okay. The other thing is we're playing 11 Power 5s, and that does not put us on a level playing field with the people in our conference. That's my two issues with scheduling. It's not that when we play that game, it's opening on the road and then playing 11 Power 5s.
Rodney, he didn't play.
He played on special teams. Tried to get him the ball the last play of the game. If you look at the game, we didn't play in a ton of 11 personnel. We didn't play in a bunch of 11 personnel, and that was game plan specific. I don't think that's who we'll be as we continue moving forward. Felt like that's who we needed to be versus them. Our whole plan is we felt really good if we get it in the fourth quarter, and we ran the ball good. I think we left some yardage out there. I think we ended up having 170. I felt like we could rush for over 200 versus those guys, and we left some plays out there. But he'll play more moving forward. He's going to play. In retrospect, maybe should have used him a little bit more in that game. Preston played primarily those snaps at that slot receiver. But Rod will play. He'll play this week, and if he produces, he'll play more as the year goes.
Overall participation, I counted low 50s. Is that what you wanted going into the game, or do you want to play more?
No, I think that's about right. We played where we're rotating, D lineman. We played a good bit of those guys. Maybe we would have liked to get another linebacker in the game. It's a tough ask to go play there, for the first game. I think you've heard me say this before, John. I think you don't want to play people before they're ready, because if you do, some of that has ramifications down the road. And so, probably would have liked to play another linebacker. Offensively, the two receivers, Traylon played a decent number of snaps. Probably needed to play Rod more.
The objective this week is to play a lot of guys.
Well, the objective is to win. That's the first objective. We need to get to 1-1 and get it even. So that's the first objective, and continue to play clean football. We got to get better in the areas that we're going to focus on, which we've already talked about in depth, which is throwing the football, offensively, especially in key situations, third, fourth downs. And then on defense, we got to play the pass better. I think that's all tied together. You got to do a better job with our rush, and then we got to play tighter coverage. So those are points of emphasis where we got to get better. And the hope is that we can play more people, and it's going to be warm. It's going to be warm all week. And so we got to be careful how we practice. And we got to have more bodies ready just because of the heat and humidity that's going to be on Saturday.
You talked about these rivalry or regional games being important. Do you think you'll see that even with the FCS team?
No, it's good. I think we should play an FCS game. I think that this is my opinion on the FCS game. So I finished my career playing at FCS. I started my coaching career coaching FCS football. And so I think the more schools that play football, the better. And Bob asked me a question a couple weeks ago, and I went on a kind of a monologue about football. So I think it's really important that we continue to play, whether it's D3, D2, FCS, Group of 5, so on. And why I think these FCS games are really important is because this game for Duquesne it's very important for FCS programs to play Power 5 and get payouts, so they can continue to finance their program. And so the other thing is I think it's really important is you give yourself an opportunity to play some people. If the game goes in a direction, in a certain direction, you give yourself an opportunity to play. And there's a lot of work that goes into this thing. There's 12 months a year. These guys, and redshirting's hard, and you still have some guys redshirting. Your walk-on program's critical to success, and guys need opportunities to go out and play. And so they provide those opportunities as well. And so I think they're important. If we're going to play these games, I think it makes sense to do it regionally. It's much more like Duquesne's going to take a lot more home out of this one because it's a bus tour. They don't have to worry about it. They don't have to worry about a flight or anything like that. They've been to Hawaii, they've been to Florida State. Those are good. Those are good money games, I'm sure. But at the same time, there's a lot of cost associated where there's not. I think we got a game with St. Francis. They're not very far away. A lot of these games, JMU, we played them and they drove. When they were FCS. So I think it makes a lot of sense to play these games regionally. I think it'll be cool for the guys on that team because if you look at their roster, there's a ton of guys within a 3 or 4 hour radius playing for them, and they're going to be excited about getting and playing here against West Virginia.
Curious your thoughts on the rub play, and you're watching games throughout the week. There seems to be a lot more blocking downfield on downfield passings. What was your thoughts on what happened Saturday and overall?
Yeah, I think officiating across the country is trying to do a better job of officiating offensive pass interference. What is hard is how these guys are trained, their keys and where their eyes go. It's hard to see it because their eyes don't necessarily go. It has to be really obvious. If it's out in space, like you'll see some things down on the goal line where they're really rubs, where they're intentional about it. But out in the open field, nobody's keys are right on that, so it gets missed a good bit. And there's some that are better than the others. I think the ones you got to be careful of are the ones that are egregious, that are literally, a guy runs in and like stops his momentum. If he kind of rips through the defender, I think you're going to get away with those just because it's hard to call. But if you stop, or I'll tell you where it gets really hairy, and this is where you can use replay sometimes, is a lot of these screen passes, they're going to give you about a yard of little gray area, but what we got to clean up is some of these that are down the field, 2, 3, 4 yards down the field, and they're not getting called. I think that's where we got to be careful.
You lose a game, you hear all the time, something to learn from, and you learn a lot from it. What do you learn from losing games? And is that, are you talking more a moral thing about that, about the complexion of the team rather than technical stuff?
Well, I think you learn something from every game. You'd rather not learn from losing. So I think sometimes that's the spin you make on it. But you'd rather not learn from losing. You can learn from every game. I think if you're going to ask what we learned about ourselves is, I think our really good players are really good. And I felt like that through preseason camp. And then when you go out and watch, our top players play against their top players, we won a good amount of those battles. So you learn that. I thought you learned that our guys are going to compete, and I think you learned where we got to make improvement. and you think where you may be a little bit weak, or where you maybe not be as good as where you want to be, but until it goes out and shows up on game film, you're really not sure. So we learned a good deal. We learned some positives, we learned some negatives, and we were on the losing end. But I think you can learn lessons from winning too.
You guys played a lot of DBs, cornerbacks in the game. Jacoby Spells, is he?
He played on special teams. He just, those other guys were ahead of him. He'll get some opportunities this week.
Neal, you talked last year going to the FCS game about wanting to maybe hone in and learn about special teams and return and field position because they specialize being really good at that. I know it's only Monday, but is there an actual aspect of football that you may be?
Well, here's the thing about Duquesne, and I can get into a little bit schematically with you here is, so I think that, first of all, a lot of respect for them, what they've done. They've been really successful there for a long time. And that conference, I coached in that conference for a year. It's a really competitive league. The league's gotten better. They were reduced scholarship, non-scholarship. Now they went reduced, and now they're funded. And that league's been effective in the FCS playoffs, and it's really gotten better. Defensively, this is going to be, from what they do, it's going to be a challenge because they're so multiple and they're high pressure. They mix up 4 down, 3 down fronts. They give you about every front look that you can draw up. And then they pressure about 60% of the time, which is 5-man or more pressures about 60% of the time. So they're going to heat it up, and they're going to come in here and not hold a whole lot back. And special teams-wise, they're really sound. Thought they did a good job last year in Florida State on some special teams. They had a couple Florida State kickoff returns where they tackled them inside the 15, which shows they got good team speed as well. I thought they really had an opportunity to block a couple kicks last year. And then offensively, the quarterback threw the deep ball really well. And they've got 2 running backs that are capable. I think they've got 13 Division I transfers, if I counted right, on their roster. And so they got some guys that have played in these venues and played in these type of games before. So they're not going to be intimidated at all coming in here. And so that's, if that schematically, if that answers you.
You mentioned your defensive front. There were a lot of new players, transfers, maybe young guys like Hammond didn't play last year, for example. That had to happen, I guess, if you were going to be good. But what did you see? What did you find encouraging about defensive linemen, linebackers that makes you feel better about what you didn't know about going in?
Yeah, so Hammond, and this is where I started. I think we're pretty good on the offensive line, and probably last fall camp we were more dominant versus our D-line than we were this fall camp, and I really felt like that our O-line had made improvements, and so I was encouraged by our D-line's performance through spring, because it was ugly a little bit during the early spring, and they got better as spring went on. And then in fall camp, they won some of those battles, which I was hopeful. You never know till you go play an opponent, but it was hopeful that was because we'd made some strides, and I think that held true. We got moved off the ball in the first play of the game, but I don't really feel like we did the rest of the game. As far as just giving up a chunk yardage. We misfit a couple things, but I don't think we just got pushed off the ball after the first play. Hammond has got really good ability, and he's been you don't see this kind of progression, and I give him a lot of credit for being patient. He's really progressed into his 3rd year now, and he's got power. He's learned how to play with pad level. He's got some suddenness about him, and he earned the right to play more, and he'll play more moving forward. I thought Fatorma gave us some really solid snaps, different type of player. Mike Lockhart, in his 2nd year as a transfer, showed good ability last year, but now he's played himself where he can play. We played him 40-something snaps. He probably needs to be around 35, but he made some really good one-on-one plays, and he made 2 high-effort plays. Tommy played, I think, 10 or 12 snaps, had a sack. He's strong in his redshirt freshman and playing in his first real meaningful snaps of his career. And he's only going to continue to get better. Sean, y'all saw he was in a green jersey for the first couple of weeks of camp. And so kind of playing himself into shape. And I thought he did some nice things and really show what he can be. I think if he continues that progression, he's got a chance to really be special. I thought Jalen Thornton gave us some good snaps, and probably played his best football playing defensive line since he's been here, and I was happy for him. Day Hawkins had the tip pass that should have been a pick. And so if we can stay healthy, and I think Sonny Redwood's about 2 weeks out, and so when he gets back, I feel good about our rotation. We just got to stay healthy, and we got a good mix of guys.
Can I be a reverend for a second? The gentleman on the sideline with the top hat and the red coat jumping around, is that somebody from your travel party? Or is that
Yeah, that's our travel party. They're trying to have fun over there on the sideline. That was well, you'll have to ask. I have to figure that out. I wasn't totally in the loop on that. I thought it was pretty funny, but I don't know he was leading the Juice Squad. He works in his name is Zach Fincher. He works with the Chambers Climbers program.
Like the way your tight ends are progressing and your plan for them?
Yeah,
forward?
I really thought that Cole Taylor did some good things. He was, when you go back and watch the game, he really should have had probably 5 catches for 50 to 60 yards, and I think that's what he can be. He's got a really good catch radius. He runs well. He did a better job in the run game. He's got to finish some things. Traylon Davis is kind of a lunch pail guy. And then we played several snaps at Nick Malone at tight end too, and that helps us. That gives us another big body. So pleased. I think we got to be careful. Cole played like 60 snaps. That's probably a little too many. But he can definitely. He's definitely going to be a weapon for us.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Miles? All right. Thanks.